All right, we're in the black hole 9-hole cup. Say that 10 times fast. Let's go check out these holes. So these are at the Sequoia Creek holes. You can practice these in Tour 6. And here's the thing, I'm glad that it's a 9-hole cup because in a full round we play 45 holes and you're going to burn through your ball inventory. So if and I'm just a messenger. So if you have mid-level clubs, lower developed clubs, there's a lot of these holes that you can enhance your clubs by bringing out bigger balls. That's just the way it works. If you've got bigger clubs, you on some of these holes you may be able to bring out a power 4, a power 3 ball, where if you've got mid or lower developed clubs, you may be forced to bring out a power 5. But if you've got upper developed clubs and you bring out a power 5 ball, that's even better. So the deal is that the first time these holes came out in a tournament was the Redwood Cup, and in 45 holes, I mean, you burn through a ton of power balls. So it's one of those courses. Like I can think of some other courses, Eagle Peak, some other courses in the game where, like, when tournament time comes around, if you're playing them one-on-one, you're going to figure out other ways to play so you can play with lower balls and you're not really giving yourself an Albie shot. You're looking for the eagle. You're not giving yourself the on and one on a par 4 so that you can putt for eagle. You're laying it up and going out. You're going out with smaller balls. But in tournament time, you're pulling out the stops. That's why we buy these ball packs. And if you have them, this is why it's so important to save them. This is what cracks me up when I see people play out there in practice, or they're just out playing one-on-one, especially in, Tour 8 and below, and they're bringing out special balls, and it's like, what are you doing? There's going to come a tournament where you're going to wish you had them, and these holes here are holes that you'll wish you had special balls. So if you have a ball inventory, plan on going through some of your balls this week. So let's check out hole number 1. Now, I think we've played these holes in like 3 tournaments. And the Redwood Cup, when they came out in the Redwood Cup, we were getting a ton of lag, and it got to the point actually in that Redwood Cup that I upgraded my internet and I bought a new tablet because I was like, if this doesn't solve the lag problem that we're having with Playdemic, then I'm done, because it doesn't matter. It really was jacked up, and it did help. I think the tablet maybe more than the internet that I had, because we already had pretty good internet. And so the second 2 times that these holes came out, I took a little bit of time off. Just got totally burned out and took some time off. And there was a couple tournaments where the red hole or the Sequoia Creek holes were in there, and I didn't play them. So, and I think the mid one I took a little bit of time off, and then the last time we played it, I just didn't want to burn through the ball inventory, because I know if you wanted to go out there and be competitive, you're going to burn through a lot of balls. So that's why I'm saying I'm lucky, or I feel lucky, that we're playing a 9-hole cup and not a full tournament here, because these holes are ball eaters. So let's talk about these holes. So you have some options here. Depending on the clubs that you have, you can do a layup. You can lay up either right here, or you can try and get around on this side if you were looking to do the layup. So if we draw a line here, like this is our first impediment. So if we go from the tee box, let's see if I can get this so that it quits giving me the deal. So from the tee box to our first impediment, which is where it kicks out, this rough kicks out, we draw this line here. If I could draw, can you draw a straight line? I must be drunk. Let's see if I can just draw a straight line. So we're trying to get a little bit of curve to come along, but if you're trying to lay it up out here, you're probably going to find yourself more up in the front as opposed to getting past the other side if you're trying to lay up over here. And if you lay up right here on the front and then you draw the arc, you're probably about the same distance from here as you are from here. But from here, if you laid up on the right hand side, you can probably do a rough bump. Whereas if you lay up here, you're probably going to just need to go straight out. You could still do a rough bump, but these aren't my typical cup of tea rough bumps, because I like to do the pure tea rough bump where you're coming at it like this and you've got that rough in front of you. The only problem that I have on these types of rough bumps when we've got sand here is if we've got wind that's blowing from any direction that's requiring me to pull over the sand, is the sand distorting our rings? So for me, if you were laying it up, I like it better when the wind is either blowing side to side along that rough, or if I've got some kind of headwind so that I can pull off into the fairway and I don't have to involve the sand in my wind adjustment. That's just me. But on this particular hole, if you bring out the right ball, and this is one of those ones where the first time when we played these, we didn't really have balls that had topspin boost. So we now have 3 power balls with topspin boost, and you don't really have to have a lot of side spin or curl or any of this other spin on it. So you can't, if you have let's say you had an extra mile 8, extra mile 7, and you've got that, what, 4.5, 5.5, 5 topspin, somewhere in that neighborhood, 6, I think extra mile 8 might have, what, 60 topspin or somewhere in that neighborhood. And you put any, or topspin, and you put any side spin on it, you can't put all of the topspin and all of the side spin. You got to give up on one or the other. This is one of those ones where you're going to be able to put it all on because you're not really using any of the side spin. And what you want to get is bounce number 1, bounce number 2, clipping the rough, and then bleeding out. From my notes, and I went back and I watched the videos, and I set up a playlist in YouTube for the 9-hole cup and the scouting report. I'll put the scouting report at the top of it, but then I've got 9 videos from the Redwood Cup kind of going over some of these shots. But I'm going to try and do a second bounce rough bump here, and I believe I did a plus 20%. In the video that I showed, I didn't do the plus 20%, but I think you definitely want to do a plus 20% on the drive. But in order to get down here, you're either going to need to bring a big ball and overpower, or depending on which way the wind's blowing, you could probably do it with a 3 power ball. But I think the topspin boost is really going to help. So I've got some of the, let me see what I've got here. Let's see what I got. I think I have some 5 power balls with some topspin boost. I think these have topspin boost right there. That's the one. That's the ball. That's what I'm bringing. And I'm going to bring what's got the most topspin so that I can stretch it out. The Apocalypse gives me more raw distance, but until I get this Apocalypse to level 7, at the point when it gets to level 7, I don't know if I'll use my extra mile anymore, but my extra mile still has more topspin. So you want to get from the first bounce to the second bounce, you want to stretch that distance out. We'll see, because I want that second bounce to clip the rough. So we'll see. And I have limited, I've only played these holes a limited amount of time. So they're almost like new holes to me. And it's been so long since I played them. I went back and I remember all the holes. The deal is I never remember holes. So if somebody tells me, oh yeah, Gokasha Bay, hole number 5, that hole, and I have no freaking clue what that hole is, and I've probably played it 600 times. I have no idea what that hole is. But if I get on that hole, I instantly know what the hole is. So that's what usually happens. If I see a hole, sometimes when I see a hole and I see it in play, I can remember, and sometimes I just need to get out there and look at it. I need to get out there and look at it. Come on. We're going to get Jimmy, 88, going against 77. Why 77? Because you get 8 more. That's why. Da-da-da-da. All right. Let's see if we can get this right. We've got a headwind. We're going to use bag number 1, Uno. I don't know. Yeah. Topspin boost ball does work. Okay, so that's about a ring. So I'm going to have to put just a little bit of overpower on it. Hit it 1 ring great to the left. And I think I'm going to clip that sand. Yup. That's the shot though. Going through that little narrow neck. If you've got, so with the Power 5 ball and an EM9, you can get over there. If we've got any kind of tailwind, you'll be able to get over without doing any overpower whatsoever. So it's going to be one of those shots that may be a little bit inconsistent depending on what clubs you have, because you may not, I would prefer to find the ball in my inventory, especially for those of you that have a big ball inventory. Ooh. Is to find the ball so that I can do max overpower. It's hard for, I have a hard, I would like, if I'm going to do overpower, I'd rather do either just a little teeny bit or a ton max. The wind's kind of pushing it off, pushing it back towards me. So I'm going to start off on the right hand edge of the cup. Wind shouldn't be a factor, but it might be. And that was 7,000 rings straight to the right. That's the way I'm going to be. For me, my game has always been predicated on picking up par fours. So if there's ever an opportunity to get on and one on a par four, I'm going for it. And because that in my game, the tournaments that I've been very successful in, I've nailed the par fours. And then I look at the par threes and the par fives as anything I can pick up on par threes and par fives are winning strokes. That's what wins me tournaments. But I have to succeed on the par fours. So in tournaments where I go out there and I don't do well on the par fours, I usually don't do well. And anytime you can get on in one, you gotta go for it. I mean, come on. You gotta pull out. That's why we buy special stuff. That's why when you're out there, think about all the times you've been in a tournament and you got on a hole and you went, damn, I wish I would have saved those balls that I was playing with in tour 5 or tour 8. I took those balls out because I bought a $30 pack or a $35 pack, and I blew a bunch of them just out there dicking around, checking them out. And then you get in a tournament and you really wish that you had those. The 444s. I have not bought any 444s, and I've been telling people ever since they started putting out the 444s, we need to play with 444s, and I've got to buy some of those because some of these holes like that right there, if you had tailwind, a 444 might work fine. Might work good. Okay, that was hole number 1. Hole number 2. All right. So I think in the video that I show, it was like, because it was the first time we'd ever played these, I was going straight at it. I was doing a bounce over with a sniper. So bounce number 1, going at it. And I believe as we went along, if you bring out a rock or a QB, you can do a rough bump off of this right here. And that's actually a much better way to go at it. But you can start off over here and just do bounce number 1, bounce number 2. You could, I suppose, bring out a rocket. A rocket's got tons of backspin. You could probably start off on the other side and try and backspin it to the cup with a rocket. So you do have some options on how you want to play this. I'm going to try for the rough bump, but I'm not sure what ball I need to bring for that rough bump. And I'm going to bring a rock. So I'm going to bring my number 2 bag. So I'm just going to go out there and play it. We'll figure out what ball we need once we get out there. So we'll figure it out as we go along. And I believe, if I'm not, there is an adjustment because it is a downhill shot. So I'm 100% positive we need to do some kind of an adjustment. I'm going to start off with a +10, and we'll go from there. These rounds are always good for me. I like to shoot practice rounds, and I encourage every single person. If I can't give you the best advice that I could give you as a Golf Clash player, if you want to get better at tournament play, is record your own video so that you can go back in your spare time and you can watch your own video and you can analyze your shots, because there's so many times that you hit, and I learn more from bad shots than I do. It's kind of a 50-50, but you do learn a lot from taking bad shots. Like, what went wrong there? What can I do to make that so that never happens again? But when you hit those really good shots, you're like, yeah, I got that shot. Then you can go back and look at it. And what I find is that a lot of times I made the right adjustment and everything went exactly as planned, and I got where I wanted. That's my notes. But there are times when I go back and look at it and go, shit, I overpulled that. Or I underpulled it and I made a mistake. Let's see what club we're in. So I got a big ass ball, so I'm going to switch to a nav. I'm going to switch to my number 2 bag. Where's my red line? So I got enough room to work out some wind here. Let's get back where I can see the tip. So it should be 3.63 rings. There's 1, 2, 3, 6, 3. Hitting it perfect. And we'll see where a 10% puts me as a starting spot. Boy, I just barely clipped that rough. In the hole! And if you looked at where I started, I was kind of like in the, I always like to start those rough shots off where I'm kind of like in the middle of the rough, giving myself a little bit, and it seemed like I was pretty damn close to the front there. So I'll have to go back, and this is one of the reasons why you need to record your own video, because I can go back and I can look and see where I set it up. And sometimes I'll look and see where I set it up and I'll take a picture, and then I'll go back and I'll freeze it where it landed and I'll take a picture, and I can compare the two and see, like, is it, because sometimes we think of it, the only word that really comes out of our mouth all the time is that we're doing elevation adjustments, but sometimes the way that the course is playing, like maybe we don't need to do an adjustment. Maybe we just need to start off in a different spot because it's taking an irregular bounce because it's hitting on the side of a hill or it's doing something. But it's so important to record your own video. It helped me out because I don't play as much as I used to. I used to play between playtime, practice time, watching my own video, and going back and really analyzing it and working with my teammates on shots, because my teammates are hot on par 3s. And so, like, I'm always trying to figure out par 4s, and my teammates were helping me on par 3s, and I'm keen on par 5s too. But being able to, I would spend 40 hours a week for a tournament, maybe not even including the weekend round. I would spend so much time. My wife was like, man, you spend a lot of time playing golf. Lots of time. But if you are wanting to get better, I can't give you any better advice than to record your own video. Record your own video, damn it. All right, hole number 3. What is hole number 3? Hole number 3. Da-da-da-da. All right. So you have some layup options here. You can lay up out here. You can lay up down at the tip on either one of these. If you think about it, hey, if you lay up out here and you're trying to get, I'm actually trying to get out into this zone. I would like to get out in here as far as I could possibly get. So if you think about the tee box and you're drawing a line out into this area, you got to kind of watch your curl because of this tree. But, trying to pick it up so that you can bleed off in this, as opposed to, like, if you did overhit it or really catch a hold of it, not getting out in the rough out here. But you can recover if you're out here in the rough. But when you're out in this area out here, you've got to make sure that you get past this tree. And it is a little bit difficult coming into the green over here because it drops down when it comes into the green, and it is a little bit. So when you're out in this area, you basically got the same shot. You're just in a bigger club. So out here you may be in long iron, and out here you're in wood. If you're laying it up here, you've got the same arc, so you're about the same distance from the cup. You do have some options here. You can bounce off the island, you can clip the rough, you can start on the green, just depending on what ball you're bringing. But if you're bringing out a big enough ball that you could start off on the green over here, you might as well go for the other side. So I'm going for the other side. And if we have a tailwind, I know the first time I played this, if you have a tailwind, you can get it done with power 3 ball, just depending on what club you've got. So if you've got lower level or mid-level extra mile, you may have to bring out a bigger ball in order to push your red line forward so that you can make it over with the topspin that you have. If you've got a upper developed extra mile or even an APOC, you may not have to bring out as big a ball, but if you bring out that same big ball, you can get farther up the field. And it may change your club. So out here, you may be in long iron, but you may be a min long iron up here, or you may be able to dig yourself up into a short iron situation if you can get way up there. And once again, we have those top spin boost balls, which we didn't have when these first came out, and that changes the game. So I'm gonna bring one of those. I'm gonna practice with. I'm gonna pull out some big stuff and show you what it would do with the big stuff. And I'm gonna use my extra mile. And the community gave me that extra mile 9. Thank you very much. We used to have extra mile 8s, and the extra mile didn't get anything in the week before. The week leading up to the club card trading, they boosted up some clubs. The club that I was the most excited about was the Rock, because I think they gave it like 10 extra yards. So it used to, like at max, it hit like 222, and now it hits 232. They gave it 10 extra yards, and then they gave it a level 9, and they gave it some more stuff, or they gave it 10 yards and it went to like 227, and then it went to, when it got maxed out, they gave it an extra 5 yards. So at level 9, it was like big. It became like you don't use your quarterback anymore because the Rock is the club. But up to that point, if you've got a quarterback, quarterbacks are awesome clubs. Don't think that they aren't. They are awesome. Now I'm going to start off going in that direction because I want to put a little bit of curl on it. Not a lot, but a little. Maybe a little more. Hitting it perfect. And with that headwind, you can see how much that headwind killed that shot. Laid it down. It's almost like the tournament we just got done playing. There was a couple of the holes. If you have tailwind, it carries the ball forever. And if you have headwind, it kills it. It's almost like it's 100%. You know, people look, oh yeah, you do a 20% adjustment on that. No, it kills it. Maybe for side wind, you do a 20% adjustment, but if it's headwind or tailwind, it kills that ball. So that 2-2, if that would have been a 2-2 tailwind, I probably would have cleared that rough by 10 yards. And the problem here is I didn't get far enough out to get past that tree, and this shot may require more spin than what I have. I am in between clubs here. Can I start off on the other side maybe? No. You need to get past that tree for damn sure. Faux show. Two, 3. I'm just going to make an adjustment. I'm going to make a 2-6 adjustment. 2-6. And put on max curl, not max curl. Hit a 1 ring grade on the inside. And just recover. But even with a power 5 ball with top spin boost, with any kind of headwind, that is brutal. Brutal. I'll have to go back and watch that and see if I came in on the left-hand side, because it's always important to look at when you're coming through roughs. There's always a narrow spot, and then there's always a spot where you have to get more distance in order to clear the rough. And if I came in on the left-hand side, you can look at your bounces and see, like, if I was to the right, would I have ended up in the fairway? And see if that was the deal. But it just seems like that shot should have been... with just a 2-2 wind, it really laid it down. Once again, the importance of recording your own video. See if my opponent can get it in the hole. If they hit it perfect, it should go in. Perfect. It should go in the hole. In the hole. That works. Good recovery. Cost me a chest, but that's all right. That's all right. They're excited about it. That's all that counts. Hole number 4. What is hole number 4? Hole number 4 is a par 3. Some of these par 3s, how I was shooting them when they first came out, and there is a rough bump that we can do on this hole. It seemed like that there was a rough bump that we had figured out over here if you've got a sniper and you can walk it to the cup. But it seemed like it was difficult to find the spot. So, like, you really wanted to be more up in here, but I think you had to pull it down, unless you brought a Kingmaker. You had to pull it down more. You really wanted a 3-side spin ball. You can go straight at it, but I believe there was a rough bump. Let's go out and check it out. Let's go out and check it out. What do my notes say? My notes say plus 15%. 1.15 times whatever the wind is. We'll just go play. We'll see what ball works. I'm not really going to be too concerned about if I time out. I really want to see what ball will work for where the red lines are at. And I'm almost positive that we started doing, when this hole first came out, we were just kind of going straight out just to see what it would take just to get up there. But as we played it a few more times, we found that there was a rough bump there. But if I remember correctly, it was hard. It could be difficult to find the right line. It's almost it is definitely one of those shots you want to know how much spin you were putting on it. So you put the spin on it and then you go find the spot. And there's only one spot that spin will work at. We shall see. PJ goes first. Hopefully PJ overhits it and ends up in the sand so I can get extra. I can take my time. And they're not going to do that because they're going to go straight at it. And when I was taking the shot out in the middle, I was trying to be about 2.5 to 3. If you bring out a 3-side spin ball, you can be three rings away from that sand. And the reason I was doing that was so that if we were getting a wind that was coming from the left to the right, it gave me more room to work out the wind without having to involve the sand. Close. They almost made it so if I do timeout, I wouldn't be able to time out. All right, let's bring let's see what a katana will do for me as far as red line. So I've got plenty of room here, but it does seem like there was a shot. So it's 2.3, it's 264, and I'm going to do a max adjustment even though I'm at mid club. We'll just try it out first. 264, it's going to be a bitch to do wind adjustments in that spot. There's 1, 2, 6, 4. Oh, could I have missed that by any farther? There is a rough bump that we can do there. I don't like being in that bush. And that was a matter of me. I probably needed to put on more spin. But I'll be working on that rough bump this week. I'm gonna, and my teammates are much better at this than me as far as like paying attention to what kind of spin they put on their ball. Especially on these par 3s. They'll know going in that it should be 1 of this and 5 of that, or 1 of this or 2 of that, or they'll have that figured out, and then they just put that spin on and then they find the spot. But I definitely didn't like having to hit from behind the bushes there. Let's try it. Let's try it again. Let's try it one more time. Let's play it one more time. We'll play it one more time now that we know what ball to bring out. I'm pretty sure I need to have a 3-side spin ball. I'm almost positive that was key. And I'm at mid, but I'm going to hit a max number, at least to start. We'll see if I can hit one in there perfect that's not 2 rings great. It was on track with the 2 rings great, but who the hell knows where it really should have been. Let's try it one more time. Oh, damn it. We're on the next hole. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? All right. So I'm going to talk about, I'm going to shoot this hole first, and then I'll go back and talk about it. I guess we're not going to shoot that one again. I think that the way my opponent went, whoo, they clipped the branch. That's not good. There's several ways that you can go at this hole. If you bring out a power, and you don't need to bring out a topspin boost power 5. You just bring out a normal power 5. And we've got our number 1 bag. Your red line's on the other side of the tree. So I'm going to pull back just a little from the red line. Let's get up where I can see what the hell I'm doing. And you don't need all the topspin. Be more towards that tree. 5 should be about 2.5 rings. Puts me about 1.25 rings into power. I'm going to put just a little teeny bit of curl on it. Hitting it perfect. I didn't put enough curl. Did I miss it? I missed it. And you can go between those, but you can't put on a lot of curl, because you'll clip the tree on the left. So I was aiming more towards the tree on the right, and then giving myself as much room between the trees as possible so that I could put that little bit of curl on it. But if you go right down the middle and then you put that little bit of curl on it, you're just going to tag the tree. So it's one of those ones where you're either using a little bit of curl or you're going to do a max curl shot, so you're going around that tree. And a power 5 ball will put you on the other side, and a power 3 ball puts you where you have to do max OP. And so the deal there is that if you're doing max overpower on it, it can be, now these types of holes, I find that if you're getting a hole where the ball guide's skipping, you just need to get up to the hole. Put on like 1 backspin and just get up to it and get it off of the, because the green has got moguls and movement on it. Hitting it perfect. In the hole. Anytime you're on a hole and your ball guide is jerking around, going forward and back, forward and back, forward and back, in my experience, put on some backspin and move it up there. You're basically hitting it like people that use an in-bringer would hit it. Be flexible. So let's go look at that hole. Sorry, I didn't give you an extra look at the one with the par 3, but you get the idea on this hole that there is a rough bump that we can do up here. I would prefer to be up here, but what I should have did there is put on max side spin. This is another thing about ball inventory. I was using a power 2 ball, and I didn't needed to use a power 2. I think I was in mid club, but we've got power 2 low wind, power 1 low wind, 4 side spin, 5 side spin. So you're going to be able to, some people may only be able to hit it from over here because they don't have a ball that's got the side spin. But if you've got a ball that's got a lot of side spin, you may be able to pull out more into the clear. So this, how you set that shot up is really going to be dependent upon your ball inventory. All right, this is the hole we just played. So if we could get rid of all these branches, there's a trunk right here, a big ass trunk. There's a big ass trunk right here. And so I was trying to set my ball guide up so that it was going more towards this hole, and you're trying to straighten that out. And then what I was trying to do is put on just enough curl that I could weave it through so that I'd miss this little rough right here and bleed down towards the green. And the one thing I do remember on this hole from the Redwood Cup is if you're using a Power 5 ball, you don't really need the topspin boost. It depends on your club. So your red line, it doesn't matter if you've got a power 7 a 7, 8, 9 EM, your red line's still going to be out in this area. Maybe a little bit difference. I think it does pick up a couple yards towards the end, but it's not really going to be any different. The top spin, if you've got a lower developed club, if you have one of those top spin boost balls, it may help. But if you've got an Extra Mile 8, the max top spin that's on there is usually enough to get you right out. Now with a tailwind there, it would have carried a little bit more, and so you're going to have to watch your top spin, because it is easy. Once you catch the green, it is easy to blow past it. Just being out in front and having a short little chip like that's not bad, but that area, you're probably going to have that same thing where your ball guide's going long, then going short, then going long, then going short. And so if you're out in front, expect that you might have to put on the one backspin and just get up to the cup. And from that distance, wind kind of is a factor. It kind of is. But trying to get through the middle, if you aim towards that tree, that gives you the maximum amount of curl that you can do to try and weave and bob through there. If you're going to go around the tree, especially if you've got an APOC 4 even, if you're trying to go around the tree, this is a blind curl shot, and you'll have to take this a few times to understand where to set it up. So if you've got a Power 5 ball and your red line's up in here, number one, you're in the better part of the fairway where you're deeper. So if you're trying to go through the trees, here's the rough. So how much forward distance you have to get in order to clear this, you may have to, with like the wind that we had, you may have to put on a little bit of overpower just so that you can make sure that you clear this rough and that your first bounce is in the fairway so you can get that forward distance. If you're starting off and you're trying to do a curl shot that goes around the tree and goes straight down the middle of the fairway towards the cup, you're in a shallow part, so you could actually pull yourself back a little bit from the red line, give yourself maybe a ring and a half, 2 rings of separation off of this transitional surface in this area right here. And let's say this is where your red line's at. So if we've got a forward moving wind, you've got enough room to work wind out, and you don't have to do overpower. And find a spot. So I'm always and I do this on max overpower hook shots, is I'll find a spot where I'm 2 rings off on this side and my white ring's off over here, or my ball guide's pointing straight towards a tree, or I'll find some landmark that I can go back and set it up in that spot. Pay attention to your plus numbers. So if you are using a Power 5 ball here, pay attention to your plus numbers. So at max club, it may be at, and I don't know what it is, it might be at plus 23, and then you're going to pull back a little bit so that you can give yourself, and maybe you pull back to plus 18. So that gives you a little bit of room to maneuver. And then what you're trying to do is, I like to do these shots with max curl. So you're totally clear out here. There's nothing impeding your way out here. So setting it up as a max curl shot, you're starting off on the tee box, and you're trying to get the ball to go so that it just comes straight down the fairway. And that spot with an Extra Mile may be just pointing straight at this tree. And I'm pretty sure, I think with an Extra Mile, it is pretty much either right dead center of the trunk or on the left-hand edge of the trunk. And then, because curl's not representing your ball guide. So your ball guide's going like this, and your ball guide's like, hey, dude, you're going to hit that tree. But when you put the curl on it, it just walks right around it and goes straight down the fairway. With an APOC, if you put on max curl, you may have to set it up on this side right here. You may have to set it up so that you're just 2 rings off of that transitional surface, so that when you put on the max curl, it goes down the center. You'll have to practice that. This is a blind curl shot out here, whereas the shot that goes between the trees is just a matter of hitting it perfect every time. There is no room for error on this. Now you could, if you've got a club that's got the top spin, you could go from here out to here and try and bridge this gap. But understand that at some point we need to get on the fairway. So like this is the area here, like can you get bounce number 1 here and then bounce number 2 clear, and then you're running forward. But if you've got any kind of curl on it to get around this tree, your ball is going to be heading off in this direction, and then it's going to be encountering this rough area over here. So you could end up in the rough. And it's not going to travel from here all the way to there through the rough. You're not going to get a bounce out here and then it's going to miraculously get another bounce and then you're going to run through it. You're only going to get one big bounce in the rough and then it's going to lay down. But it's possible. I suppose you could, if you got out here on the tip of this enough, you could get one bounce here and then try and bridge that gap to possibly get. But it just seems to me that if you come at it from the right hand side, that your trajectory is going to be fine up here, and it may be even fine here. But when you get down to the end, your trajectory is going to be off. And that this side right here is following the contour of this fairway and the direction of this fairway, so that it would be easier to come from the right and get that job done. It just seems that way to me. All right, next hole. Next hole. All right, this is another one of those holes. I know when this first came out, I was trying to do a max overpower hook and trying to get up into this area so that you could lay it up and get it up. And it seemed difficult. And I think what the deal was is I might have been bringing out too big of a ball. Because there's a certain point, if you're trying to do a max overpower hook shot and you're trying to get it to go here, that you're actually, if you bring out too big of a ball, you've actually pulled yourself out. You're getting the max overpower hook and it's right, but you're here. And you can't, there isn't any more curl. So the only thing what you can do is, instead of fighting the system, is drop down to a katana. Drop down to a 2-power ball that's got side spin. And what you're doing is, instead of your trajectory going so that you're like this with a kingmaker, your trajectory is like this with a katana. Or maybe your trajectory is out here with a kingmaker and this is the katana. And maybe you need to switch to a lower power ball, a quasar, or some other 1-power 3 side spin ball in order to get out into this area so that you've got this shot coming up. I'm actually going to try and get onto this fairway. Now you might be able to do a max overpower hook, and I don't think that I actually did that when this hole first came out, of doing a max overpower hook shot with a bigger ball where you're trying to get out here, trying to go like this to get onto this fairway. I think it's easier just to go straight towards that fairway. You're bouncing off of this fairway and trying to bridge the gap. The key is to clear this freaking tree. And these are sequoia trees, so the trunks are about 7 miles wide. That's like 7 miles? That's like, what is that, 9 kilometers? That's just the trunk. That's just the diameter. You got to get past this. Hey, let me see if I can get that out of there. You need to get past this tree so that you've got, so really, I think in the video I shot, I was right here and I was able to kind of get at it, but you really want to be center mass or farther so that you have a nice clear shot at it. I think if we can hit it right, I was trying to do a rough bump where I had bounce number 1, bounce number 2 in the rough and clear it. If we had the right ball inventory and we had the right wind, it could be possible to get bounce number 1, bounce number 2, and then try and get over to this one. And I think from here it was long iron. I think from over here it's short iron. And anytime you can do a shot that changes your club. So like we may get on this in one round where we've got a headwind and it's like, hey, we're going to get out here and we've got a long iron shot. But the next round we've got a tailwind. And we can switch balls up and we can switch and we can try and get over to here. So now we got a short iron shot. It is worth the effort to try and change clubs. Because I would much rather come at holes with my short iron than my long iron. I would much rather come at holes with my long iron than my wood. I would much rather come at some of these holes with my wood than with my driver. It's always better to get into a lower club. It's just like if you're in a shot where you're hitting with your short iron, I would much rather be in minimum short iron than maximum short iron, because at minimum short iron, it's just so much more accurate. All right, let's go out there and try it once again. Let's go try it. Let's go try it out. And they're gonna. I talked for so damn long there. That's because I accidentally went in there and played that hole without talking about it first. Look at that. What a rookie. That's why I play rookie. I'm a rookie bastard. I'm not sure which way the wind's blowing, but I bought some of these albatross balls just for this kind of crap. just for it. Extra mile. I also have club card trading I can do today. You guys get to partake in my club card trading. Let's see. I've gotten the Apocalypse the last 2 days in a row, but I got the I've only got 6 clubs that I'm choosing, and I got an Apocalypse and a Cataclysm both days. And I just got enough for my Cataclysm, so 3 days in a row, and I'm getting clubs that I want to get. The Thor's Hammer is an awesome club, and if you're playing in upper tours, the Thor's Hammer is an awesome club. And it's worth getting to 6 and 7 and 8. It is definitely worth getting to 6, but I am working on my Apocalypse more than I am working on my Thor's Hammer. Even if I get my Apocalypse to level 6, I probably, with the clubs that I have, won't play it, just because I'm not playing upper tours. But that's 3 days in a row with an Apocalypse. Look at that shit. What kind of deal is that? Oh. I'm not playing one-on-one today. I do need to shoot some one-on-one videos. If you guys want me to play some one-on-one videos where I'm just out practicing some of these tours, especially if you're moving up the ranks and you just want to see more time and play, I need to go with my buddy Dale Appleby, and I was going to call him today, but I saw he was streaming, and see if he wanted to try and hook up for Tour 6. All right, here we go. Hole number 6. And my notes say I'm gonna, if I get out there where I can actually get the shot, I'm gonna use a sniper at max club plus 10% to the cup. That's where I'm gonna start the week off, and we'll see how that goes. I'm not quite sure I'm at max club, but it seemed like where you're coming into the green, it drops down on the other side, and I had tried some where I was actually adding my club, and I needed to add more wins, so I went back to because it's easy to pull 1 for 1 and then make adjustments. I go first. You can see the hole. The greenskeepers need to come out here and trim that tree down a little bit. Now the question is can you get all the way over to that other fairway? That's the question. I'm going to aim right towards right to where my ball guide dies. It's 2-5. There's 2-1, and a little bit of an overpull. Hit it 1 ring great to the right. I have more room on the right than I do on the left, so that right-hand shot shouldn't kill me too bad. And I clipped the tree, and that bounced me out there. That was awesome. This is another one of those holes. If you have tailwind, it's going to carry it a lot farther. You can see how much it killed it. Killed it. I'll go back through because I'm a big fan, and a lot of people don't get the concept that when you use max curl, you have to, I'm using right hand curl. But the whole thing is that I want to get to the right, but in order to give myself room for the curl to become effective, I've got to pull the ball more to the left to give myself room. I actually got to grizzly range there, so grizz. And I'm about mid-club. And it's flat down here on the bottom. I'd have to use more backspin. Two 4, that'd be 2-6. Let's say 2-7. There's 2-6, 2-7. Ah, hit it great to the left. Just great to the left. That 10% might be right. I've tried to hit it before coming into this hole where I used less backspin, and I kind of, because I really like, I prefer to come at them and try and finesse it where I'm just using 2-3 backspin at the most. If I'm using my short iron, I really like to just come out with 1 backspin. But it seemed like where you come in at it, you're coming in at it, it drops down right there, and you're coming at it kind of like next to the sand, and you're coming in at it on the hill face. So it does almost like a rough bump. You're coming out, it's so damn steep right there that it really changes how the ball rolls out. And what I was trying to do there was get in front of that, so I was down on the bottom and it was already flat. My opponent should easily be able to get in with their rapier. No wind adjustment here. Point it straight at the flagpole and hit it perfect. They could probably hit it great left to the right. They might even be able to hit it 2 rings great to the left or the right. Probably just 1. I remember the day I saw somebody do that topspin stuff for the first time. It was Nicholas. And I was like, what in the hell is he doing? That ball's going to go a mile. And then it went in the hole, and it was like, wow, that was pretty easy. Because at that point, what'll kill you when you first start playing this and you've got really low level clubs is when you're up close to the green. And you're just off and you're doing those short little chips because you got 0 ball guide. And those clubs are super inaccurate. That's why if you got lower developed stuff, playing with a Firefly, and it's a level 3 club, so I mean, like, as soon as you get it, you'll get it upgraded pretty quick. What hole is this? Hole number 8. All right. Now from the tee box, this is another hole. I warned you at the very beginning of this video that these holes will eat your ball inventory, and this is another hole where these topspin boost balls are going to come in awesome, because at the very end of our run, we're getting a bounce out in here depending on what ball you're bringing. I'm trying to get bounce number 1, bounce number 2, bounce number 3, or bounce number 3 to clip the rough and just bleed out, and you end up right up here, so you've got this short little chip. And if you've got lower developed stuff, those topspin boost balls may be the option. Like if you've got upper developed clubs, you may be able to get this done without any overpower, depending on which way the wind's blowing. But if you've got lower developed clubs and you have one of those balls, you can still get to the same area. You'll just have to do overpower. So, and when I'm looking at these rough areas, and I was talking about this earlier on one of the other holes, if we draw the rough here, I'm always, if I can draw a straight freaking line. If we draw the rough, this is our narrowest area. So we've got this little window here where this is where it's narrow. So when we're coming through, we're looking at trying to come through this narrow area. And obviously if we come through the middle or on the right-hand side, if we come in on the left, we're skirting this sand. So this is our window. If our trajectory is bringing us off this way, we've got to go farther through the rough. The rough is longer on this side, and we've got to go through the rough, and the rough is longer, and it's more apt for us to get caught in the rough. I've been on this hole where I've came through the middle, I've over curled it and came through on this side and got caught in the rough. I've made it through on this side, I've made it through here, I've made it through right in front of the sand. I have hit it where it's come through this way, and I actually was able to get through this. I think the closest I've ever been was on a shot to the left, where it came through this area, and somehow or other it did get through this, and it came forward, and I was like right there. But you can get right out in front if we can catch this narrow part of the rough right here. So this is my target zone, is this narrow part of the rough, because I just want to end up right out in front. And you still got a shit ton of work to do if you're on this just out there in front. And my notes, I have no idea. I have no idea what the shot is to the cup. I didn't write anything down for it, so. But I think that this is going to be another one of those big power balls. Will help us out. The Albatrossa ball. I bought those just for this type of crap. And just so that I could demo them for you guys. hey, I'm just the player. I'm not the ball manufacturer. And you're lucky that I'm not on the ball manufacturer side, because the deal is that I would make holes that if you're using a normal mortal ball, a Titan, a Kingmaker, a Katana, any of the normal balls that we can buy in the store, that you can still get the hole done. But the deal is that if you bring out a special ball, you're not only increasing your odds, you're drastically increasing your odds. I would do it because, hey, I'm a ball manufacturer. Playdemic makes its money by selling balls. So I would want you to have to buy balls every fucking week. And if you're playing in Masters or you're playing upper developed, I guarantee you those people are buying balls every week. With this win, you could probably get this done with a tight. With a Titan. All right. Let's bring out the Albatrossa ball. Damn, I don't think I even need that ball. With the 2, I might actually, look at that, I could probably get on, but it would blow past it about a mile. And I'm probably going to overshoot it right there if I get to the other side, if it does actually bounce over. Hitting it perfect. I'm probably going to hit that tree. Woo! And it did carry a lot farther than just 2-2. But I think if I would have actually got a bounce on the other side and then bounced over that rough area, I probably would have ended up on the rough on the other side. With that much topspin on there, once it got on the other side, it would have just kept going. I probably would have been on the next fairway. Nice. Nice. That works. Where am I at, my club? There's max. There's max. I'm about mid, but I think I can run topspin here. And the wind's blowing with me. So I pretty much only have to hit it perfect. And I didn't. Just a bit outside. And I started off on that side. Just a bit outside. There you go. That's what that hole looks like. That's the only way I'm going at it. I'm, once again, if you're on a par 4 and there's an opportunity to get up close, I'm always going to want to go for the shot that gets up close. All right, hole number 9. Jeez. Oh, hole number 8. Of all the par 3s here, this is the one. And I'm still not sure how I'm going to play this. It goes like this. Here's point 1. Here's 2. Here's 3. It goes, here's 1, goes down through a dip, and comes up, there's 2, and then goes down through a dip, and then comes up, and then goes up to the green. And it's got all these undulations. So, like, what's the problematic here sometimes is if you hit, so if your ball comes through and it hits like this, and it picks up the slide, it won't bounce. It'll pick up the slide, and then all of the power that it had that it would have put into going up into the air, it now puts on the, and it won't bounce anymore. It'll just slide. And so you really got to make sure, and I don't like, it's just difficult, especially if you're hitting on a hillside. If you're hitting here and you get this bounce, but you come in here, it's going to get a different bounce. You come in here, it's going to get a different bounce. Typically what will happen is if it comes in low on the hill, it'll go up. If it comes in higher up on the hill, it'll go flat. And so when you're hitting into these areas, here's the bottom, and then it goes up this little hill and then gets on the green, and the green is pretty domed, so your flagpole's here, so it's very easy to roll off the backside if you catch any kind of movement. Typically on these types of holes, I think what I did in the video that I show is there's a second little mound right here, and I started off dead center in the middle, and I went bounce number 1, bounce number 2 was on the face, and then it just rolled up on the green. The other way you could go out is to start up here on the green and try and like bring a guardian or a backspin club and try and get closer to it and backspin it on there. I don't know. We're way too far away to try and do a rough bump on this side, I'm 100% sure, and this seems like too sharp of an angle to try and bring it back. So we're pretty much going straight at it. And I have no idea how I'm going to play this hole. I have no idea this week how I'm going to play this hole. This is going to be the hole that I'm going to let Dunner figure out how to play this hole, and then I'm going to do whatever the fuck Dunner's doing. Unless I can sink it. And then he can do what I'm doing. And there are some holes where he has success on them and I'm doing a different shot. Sometimes I'm doing a different shot just because I want to demo a different shot for you guys and gals. Seems like a tournament here not too long ago. We were playing a par 4 and I was coming at it with a katana, so I was trying to demo how to do it with a lower power ball, and everybody else brings out power 3 or power 4 balls, and I was and or power 5 balls, and I was demoing how to do it every single time. Didn't matter what kind of wind it was, you could do it with a katana ball. And I had luck on that hole every single round except for the weekend round. And then the weekend round on the backside, it kicked my ass. That's how it works. That's how it's been working. I've been doing really good in the qualifying rounds and really good in the opening rounds, and then the weekend round rolls around and I just get my ass kicked. I'm not a fan of that. Not unless the green was right in front of me and I was trying to use that area as a... there are some times where you can use the fairway as a rough bump. But in my experience, when you're hitting on the downhill like that, unless the pin is right in front of you, but here you're going downhill and then you're trying to go up a hill. Well, when you're going down the hill, the ball is going to take a flat trajectory. I'm going to bring a nav because we don't need any spin. Where's my club? There's max. There's min. So if I was hitting from here, it's min club. If I was hitting from there, I'm going to try hitting it from here. So I'm a minimum club. Which is 1.3 per ring. And I'm way the hell downhill. So I'm going to just do a max adjustment plus 10. So that'd be 4.4. We're close to it. Hitting it perfect. And it pushed me about a mile off. Or did I overpull it? I overpulled it. So I probably could do, I did a 4.4 there. Let's see, let me pull out. I didn't have my trusty dusty calculator out. So if I'd have did minimum club, it would have been 4, would have been 3.9. 3.9 times 1.1 divided by 1.3. It would have been a 3.3 ring adjustment instead of a 4.4. So that was about a 1 ring overpull. So that might be one of those things where it is at minimum club. Let me make some notes here. Min club. And I practiced this before with a katana, and that put my red line in a little bit different area. Min club, and I'm going to scratch that out, and I'm going to play with the nav. And I'm going to put 1.3 per ring. I'll try that. I'm going to do a minimum club plus 10%. We'll try it out. We'll try it out. I don't really like how it did the second bounce there. It bounced off that hill face. Let me see if I can get a clear screen here. So what I'm talking about is if you're... What my opponent was doing, where and even on mine, I think my shot was on the, if you're hitting on a downhill like this and it's coming back up and you're hitting here, it tends to want to take a flat bounce going forward. Whereas if you hit it up here, it tends to take more of a bounce going forward. And so I was trying to be more up on the flat. I don't think there's anything out there that's flat, but I was trying to be more up on a flat area, on a high spot, so that my ball would take a bigger forward jump. But where it engaged the green, so like here's the flat area, and then it came up, and then it comes up to the green where it was bouncing from here. It hit on that face, and that's why it took that little straight up bounce, and then it rolled forward. And I'm not a big fan of this little straight up bounce. So it might be one of those things where the only way I could get around that is to pull farther down the hill and do exactly what my opponent did. And it seemed like when I pushed it forward, if I wanted to do a backspin shot there, you're definitely going to have to bring out a Guardian, and it would be a max backspin shot. And sometimes those work out. If you're having any problems, or if you start having any problems on a hole, sometimes it's better to just bag what you were doing and bring out a Guardian and just go straight the hell at it, or a Saturn, or a Grim Reaper or something, and just go straight out and just get your birdie and move on. Don't drop any more shots on that hole. Not all of them are super dangerous, but some of these par threes are dangerous. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. All right, we have so many different ways that we can go at this hole. I can't remember how much topspin to put on it, but if you're going, like I think in one-on-one play, I play this with a Marlin. A Quasar works really good because it has more side spin, and just trying to lay it up right here and then going to the cup. It's a long ass shot going to the cup up here with a small ball. And if you get in any trouble, you're screwed. But you can get it done with a small ball. And this little tree that's right here, that's my starting point. And so I'm going to put max curl on it. And so from the tee box, see if I can get the tee box to show up here. From the tee box, I'm trying to get here. So if I draw this line, that shit ain't going to happen. So I'm trying to get it to go like this to get over into that area. And usually I find myself more like up in this spot. But where I'm at, my center of my arc is at about that tree. So that's usually where I'll start my stuff. So I'm off from the tree. And then this transitional surface, I'll be 2 to 3 rings off that transitional surface, and then try and curl it around with a rock or a QB will work. Because your forward distance here, you're actually pulling way back from the red line. You're not even at max club. It's almost, if you brought out a bigger ball, you could do a sniper shot, because this shot from here is a sniper coming up. And it seems to me that on this, it's a weird shot because it's all, the rough bump here doesn't quite work out. It's a long ways from that to get over to it. But it seems to me on one-on-one play, I play this at a plus 30% if you're playing from this direction. And you have a shot. I've made a bunch of albies hitting it from up here in one-on-one, and it can be done. The other way you can do it is you can try and lay it up out here so that you've got this shot coming up, which is a nice clear shot. This is pretty straightforward. You just lay it up out here. You're trying to get around the bend a little, but you don't have to get too greedy, and then you got a pretty straight shot coming in. But it's definitely going to be a wood. And I'm not sure about distance out here, what wood you'd need to bring, but you've got plenty of room to run topspin if you brought a sniper. But if you brought out your big dog or katana, I don't think you'd have any problems. The other way you can go out is trying to bleed through the rough. You can try and hit through these trees and just get yourself out here where you're getting a bounce, and then you're getting a rough bump, and then you're just bleeding out. You can put on some curl and try and get it to come out in this way. There is a rock out here somewhere, and it's very easy to clip that rock and have some issues. It looks to me when you're out on the course that you could get the ball, if you had enough curl, you could get bounce number 1, and you could get it going this way right here where you could try and just bleed it off into the tip. But this tree the trunk here is massive. I've tried to do a max overpower hook shot here, and I had issues with these trees. I couldn't get onto this fairway, and I couldn't clear it. I'm not saying it can't be done. It probably can be done. Just you'd have to practice it and be willing to burn some balls to do it. But I think the farthest I've been on a max overpower hook shot was I clipped this tree and I bounced out, and I was like in this area. So it looks like to me when you're out on the course that you might be able to get this type of movement and pick this up, but just getting out into here is big. But it can be problematic and inconsistent because you've got to hit it through these trees and get that rough bump You got to get a bounce, you got to get a rough bump, and you got to miss all this shit. Big balls. Once again, this course loves big balls. Whoever designed this course for Playdemic got a freaking, if I was the guy or gal who designed this course and got it through the approval stage and they went, that is a course, and I did not get a bonus for all of the balls that people have to blow in a week of playing this course, they got robbed. Because whoever built this course, as far as I'm concerned, is the greatest designer for Playdemic ever. Because if I was designing holes for Playdemic, this is exactly the shit that you would get every freaking time from me. It would be nothing but big ass courses. And I think we can actually just do this with a power 3 ball. Maybe. Get it out of there. I think we can. But you can see that rock that's out there. If you hit that rock at the wrong angle, you're screwed. An APOC. No, an APOC doesn't have as much topspin. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna be brave here. We're practicing. What the hell? Let's put on all the fucking topspin. Let me switch this to a Marlin. Let's time out. And I'm going to bring out a power 5 ball. And let's just go for it. Let's see if I can get over to that side over there. Let's see if we can let's just be, and I may actually switch to my APOC because it's got more raw distance. It doesn't have as much topspin. But it has a lot more curl. And let's see if we can get over to the fairway on the other side over there. Anybody who's tried to go through those trees before, these rocks, it's not the trees. It's these damn rocks. Because you can hit those rocks and sometimes you can get a favorable bounce off the rock and the rock helped you. Woo! And sometimes you can get stuck behind the rocks and that blows. And if I was doing this shot down here, I'm really, it's not a bad deal to clip that rough at the very end and then bleed out so that you can pick up that extra little bit of distance. At the very end. Because you want to get that extra distance so you can get the hell out from behind those trees. And the top spin is more important than the spin, side spin. Let's see what kind of angle we can get on it here. It's going to push me. I'm going to do two rings. Isn't it perfect? And let's just see where it ends up. Let's just see like where my bounce is. Bounce number 1. Lots of flow. Just bleeding off onto that fairway. So I don't think you can make it to the other side. Maybe with an APOC 8. Because it's got more distance and more topspin. And if we had a tailwind. But against a headwind, it's probably not going to work. With an APOC, though, it has so much more curl, I probably could have gotten into the upper fairway with that same shot and ball. And I'm doing from pretty close to where I'm at right there. I'm going to do a plus 15%. And with a headwind, I probably should do a little bit more, but I'm just going to do a plus 15. We'll do 15. See where I'm at in my club. And I'm going to do it from wherever the hell I'm at in my club. And with my Grizzly, with a power 5 ball, I have no idea. straight up shot at it. Where am I at in my club? There's max, so I'm at max. 2.3 rings. .3 rings. There's 2, 2, 5, 2, 3. Hitting it perfect. See how close we can get. See if I can recover my eagle. Just a bit outside. Probably should have did a 20 in a headwind. Just a bit outside. So there we go. That was not, hey, that was not only a scouting report. That was because I've got so little time and grade on these holes that I actually had to go out there and shoot them for you at the same time so I could remember how to play them. Look at that. This is just for Dale Appleby, because what did it take me, 6 hours to record this video? Love you too, Dale. In the hole. Eagle. Good round. All right, there you have it. This is a tough course, but there's a lot of opportunities for us, especially on the par fours. There's holes that we can pick up here, and so if we go back through these, I think hole number 1 we have an opportunity for an eagle. So our minimum score, I don't see anything on here that changes our minimum score of -12. We always want to work on it. We have to get the -12 every time. We cannot afford to ever drop a shot. If you get on a hole and you don't get the eagle, okay, you didn't get the eagle, but you still got the birdie. You can't afford to get that par. You can't afford to go on a par 3 and get a par. The worst thing you can get is a birdie. So we start off with a minimum score of -12. This is a hole we can pick up a shot. That's -13. And this is a hole that a lot of people are going to pick up a shot because they're going to pull out big balls. They're going to pull out what it takes to get the job done. So like this hole, it's going to be key to get this hole every time. So that puts you at -13. So minimum score of -12. This is what gets you into what you're trying to do so that you can make it to the weekend round, is always looking at minimum score. But if you want to get to the top of the bracket, you're going to have to get a -13 because there's going to be a ton of people that are going to get this hole. So there's -13. We've got a great opportunity here. I mean, it's not going to give me, but this is a hole. This is a par 3 with this rough bump that we can do here is definitely a makeable par 3. Definitely makeable. This par 5 right here, and this is a par 5 that can eat our lunch. Depending on where we get. I really believe that you want to get over into this area. If you're laying it up here, you do have a shot. But if you're laying it up, what cracks me up is when you see people laying it up and they bring smaller balls here. A Titan, the king of balls. I mean, respect the hole and bring out a little bit bigger ball if you're doing a layup shot. Because if anything, if you're back a little bit farther, that par 3 ball can help you. But I'm definitely going to go for this over here so that we can increase our odds of getting an Albie because we're in a shorter club. Hole number 4. This par 3 right here. I think with the rough bump here, we have a great opportunity for a hole-in-one on this hole as well. We have an opportunity here on this par 4, this par 3. This par 4, we need to get an eagle. So that puts us at -14. Because it's a straight up shot. If you're going between the trees, you have to hit it perfect. If you're going on the left-hand side of the trees, you're going to have to find out with your clubs and your ball inventory. It's a blind curl shot. And you're going to have to take that shot several times so that you can get the curl right. If you use a grid line like I use, I've got these little pink ends on here. I can change the color of any of my ticks. Or I can add in a tick. So what I do, and this is another reason why it's important to record your own video, if you're not setting the shot up so that you're doing max curl, like I would try and set this shot up so that I'm using a power 5 ball on max curl. But if I couldn't get it done with max curl and I was like, okay, I can't use max curl, then I would, the very first time I got the shot right, I would go back and watch that video and go, okay, I pulled the ball to right here. I pulled the ball to right here. And I would put a little tick mark right there and I would make it blue. And then on my notes, I would write pull to the blue mark. And so I could set that shot up and repeat it over and over and over again. Because it's super repeatable to use no curl or max curl. But when you start using some curl, it's not as repeatable. Because what's some curl? Especially if you're trying to help out your teammates. It's like, hey, I'm using some curl. But if they're using a grid as well, you could tell them, hey, I put a tick mark at 63%. And that's where the mark was at. And if they're using a grid, then that kind of gives them a little bit of hint on how to do it. But this is another hole. So minus 14. If we're talking about the people that are at the top of the bracket, they're going to get these two par fours. That means they're at minus 14 and you're at minus 12. Okay. This par 5 right here, once again, I think going out into this area is the way. I think if we have tailwind, it's possible to get over here, but with any kind of headwind, this right here is the deal. And you need to get to the center so you can get past this tree. I really would like to see if there is a max overpower shot that we could do where we could get over here where we have this shot, but I think more than likely you'd end up behind these trees. You've got to clear, if you're coming over here, you draw this line, you've got to get in front of that line in order to have a straight up shot. So if you can't get in front of that line and you're ending up out here all the time, that shot's not working. I would hit it over to here. I mean, this shot sucks, but that's better than being behind trees. Another par 4. We've got to get an eagle on this hole. And of the par 4s, I think this is the harder of the par 4s because you're going to have a little bit of luck as it comes down here on how it bounces out. But and it's very unlikely you'll be on the green, so you're still going to have a second shot from. It may be in your wedge, but this will, of the par 4s, excuse me, this is the harder of the 3, but this is another shot that we need to get every time. The people at the top of the bracket. So when I talk about minimum score of minus 12, minus 24 for the round, that's typically like what it's going to take just to get into the weekend round or get into the next round. But we've got 3 pretty easy par 4s here. So it could very easily, you could easily find yourself where people are picking up at least one of them. So that means that you're looking at a 25 or a 26 to make the weekend round. And the people at the top of the bracket have made them every stinking time. So that puts them at minus 30 just on the par 4s. And then we still have a couple par 3s that are pretty makeable. And this par 3, although I dislike this one the most. I mean, of the par 3s, I don't like this one, but I think that this one is makeable. There's a spot out there that we can make an adjustment from and we can get a consistent bounce. I think this is going to be one of those holes that if we have headwind versus a tailwind, especially how we're engaging the green up here, that it could change our adjustment. But I think getting birdie here is pretty easy. But of the par 3s, I think this one's the least hole-in-oneable. But I still think it's a pretty nice shot going in there and that we can find it. But of the par 3s, this is probably the hardest of the 3. This par 5, we can put ourselves in a position to get an albie here. But the flip side is also, if you're going out like my opponent was, where they take a white ball out here, or they take a low power ball and they're coming this way, especially if you bring a big club on the second shot, you're going to easily get an eagle. But you could find yourself in a spot of bother if you're trying to get creative like I was, where you're trying to get out into here. You could find yourself in a spot of bother where you get behind a rock and you can't get through the trees, or you can't get around them because you can't go this way because the rock's here, and you can't go this way. And so you could find yourself in a spot of bother if you're trying to get super aggressive. Whereas if you're down here, you got a great shot at albie. But if you get caught up trying to get down there, you're screwed. Now, what I was talking about on this hole was from where I was at. Here's the tee box. I was trying to line up so that my ball guy was just disappearing. So it was like this. And then I put on max curl and it brought me around like this and bled me out to this spot. But if I'd used my Apocalypse, which has twice as much curl as my extra mile. It doesn't have as much topspin, but I don't really need as much topspin because look at how deep the rough is here versus how deep the rough is here. If I used maximum curl on my Apocalypse, I might be able to get it to come through and end up on this fairway. And that might be a better shot, because I think if you're up here in the rough, you could recover. Because you could bounce your Nirvana from up here and you could probably get it down. If not on the green, you could give yourself a pretty easy chip shot to recover. So I think during the practice round, I'm going to practice this with an APOC where I try and see if I can curl it just to get it up on this upper fairway. I can tell you that from down here, I was not quite, the tee box was still a little bit downhill, but when you're up here, you are up here and the tee box is down here. You are definitely uphill. So it's a lot farther down this hill than it is to come from this side right here. But I'm going to try this side just to see what it looks like, because this might be safer and still give me an awesome shot at Albie. Because down in this area, shit can go wrong. Especially when you're doing a max overpower shot and you're trying to get through a specific little area. You hit it a little bit to the left and it clips a tree, or you hit a little bit to the right and it clips this tree, and so you could have some problems. This is a hole I'll be working on because I like our Albie opportunity on this hole, but it seems to me that all three of the par fours are must makes. So like the people at the top, if I predict right now what it's going to take to win this tournament, it's going to be a 30 plus. Because the people at the top of the bracket are going to have made all three of the par fours, and then they're going to have picked up something, a par 3, a par 5. And I think there's two great opportunities on par 3. So, I mean, I really see the weekend round being 30 plus, 32s to win, because those people are going to pick up all the par 4s and maybe one par 3 on a side, or a par 3 and a par 5 on a side. And just picked up one extra shot. Those par 3s and those par 5s win you tournaments if you can get all the par 4s. All right, that was, let's see how long that took me. That took me 1 hour and 26 minutes, and I played around at the same time. Look at that. All right, that was the scouting report for the Black Hole 9-hole Cup. Thanks for watching. Everybody have a great week, and I'll post this in the playlist for it, and then you can, if you want, you can watch another. I put some other holes in there so you can see. Some of them I used lower power balls, and I came at them a different way because it was the very first time that we played them. Thanks for watching.